This is Jeffrey Friedland. Welcome back to another edition of Meet the CEO videos. Today, I'm delighted to have with me a colleague and friend from New York, Gary Zwetchkenbaum of Plum Tree Consulting LLC. Welcome, Gary. Thanks for being with us here today.
Jeffrey, it's a pleasure to be with you again, and thank you for inviting me on this Meet the CEO video.
Gary, just to sort of set the stage here a bit, Plum Tree Consulting provides hands-on advisory and consulting services for both publicly held and privately held companies. We'll have an opportunity to discuss these services in details in a couple minutes, but can you provide us with just a short introduction to Plum Tree Consulting's niche in the marketplace as it relates to your services for both publicly held and privately held companies?
I'd be happy to. The companies that I work with, the public companies I work with tend to be OTC. They're small.
Over the counter, right?
Oh, yes, they're over-the-counter companies. They are looking to grow. They're looking to uplist to a NASDAQ or a New York Stock Exchange, and they need capital. They need investors. They need often to improve their board of directors. They need to bring on a better financial firm, accounting firm, and I help them in all areas. I help them, show them where equity is, help them raise money, shareholder awareness, stock, getting shareholders, and helping them make their presentation, put together a business plan.
Okay, we'll go into some of this in detail, both for publicly held companies as well as privately held companies, but can you just give our viewers a little bit of a summary of your professional background and how that led you to form Plum Tree Consulting back in 2009?
Well, my business career is almost 50 years. My background initially was market research with a company called Knight Ridder. Knight Ridder was the 50th largest company in the United States. They were a newspaper and media and internet, 32 newspapers, a financial news network, international trade, Journal of Commerce, and TV and radio stations. I started in market research, became the market research director, then went into advertising, became the advertising manager, vice president of advertising, handled international, put together a international trade show division by listening to my clients, many of which were Fortune 500 companies, and developed that trade show division. And a lot of that business was later sold to McClatchy and to Financial Times. And I helped put that program together.
Okay, let's now jump in a bit and talk specifically, Gary, about Plum Tree Consulting's services for publicly traded companies. What I'd like you to tell our viewers about are really a few items. Specifically, what you do for public companies. Secondly, how that differs from traditional investor relations or IR services that they may have a firm that provide for them, and why your services are beneficial for publicly traded companies. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Absolutely. I developed the understanding of the need because I went from Knight Ridder to become a stockbroker at first Payne Weber, where I became $1 million roundtable in my first year, and then Dean Witter. But as a broker in these firms, I did a lot of research to companies. I like small companies. I like looking ahead, and the brokerage industry, and did not want brokers to be talking to clients about these small companies. They wanted proprietary products. They wanted you to sell their products, which include managed money, and they didn't want you, and they decided that they didn't want even to pay a commission and they wanted certain trades to be unsolicited. So I would get phone calls from IR, investor relations. I would get phone calls from people trying to promote a particular company. They were hired to do so. And I found that these people were ill-trained, didn't understand the company. And basically it was a primitive approach because the investor relations department wasn't able to bring the right kind of clients. So my business was market research. I wanted to help these companies get to the next level.
Okay, let me just, a lot of the management of small public companies may already have an investor relations firm or IR firm engaged.
These came back from a search.
To write, news releases, to distribute news releases, who knows what they do exactly. And your services are not competitive with that, but are complementary. Is that fair?
Yes. My approach has always been a hand-on approach that would complement and support investor relations for public companies.
Okay, Gary, if we look back to, the last, 11 or so years since you formed Plum Tree Consulting, on the public company side, what are the 2 or 3 biggest reasons that management of public companies come to Plum Tree for your services, which are hands-on services?
I feel that they want they want investors. They don't want traders. They want people who understand the story and are very comfortable investing in a program. When I would talk to a particular client about a company, I would tell them, these small companies, if they weren't willing to invest and hold their position for 2 years, they shouldn't be in it. These are companies that are small and growing, and they wouldn't see the benefits. I'm able to bring in capital, access to shareholder awareness, get stock bought by investors and not traders, and help a company grow in the area of their board, of their personnel, to get to the level where they can move up to the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ, help them get where they want to go.
Super. Okay, let's move on now, Gary, to what Plum Tree Consulting does for privately held companies. Can you provide us with a quick overview of typically, there's no cookie cutter on this necessarily, but typically what you are engaged to do and how you help privately held companies?
Well, when you talk about privately held companies, you talk about, there are 2 areas. There are privately held companies that are looking to become public, and there are privately held companies that need a game plan and access to capital and want to stay private. Often, many of these company executives are not sure. They hear from others how important it is to go public. They're getting told and they're getting sold about going public. Often that happens too soon. So I convince a company with their plan that they need to stay as a private company to grow to a point with revenue and growth before they make that decision about, are they willing to go public and what commitment they're going to have to make, both personally and financially, to make that step. And there's a big difference. And I think the world and these executives develop their first bit of success, and then someone comes along with the apple to try to convince them this is the next step to prosperity, and everything is go public now, access to money, and it's often too soon.
Okay, Gary, if we again look back at the companies, the privately held companies that you've worked with since 2009, what are 2 or 3 of the biggest reasons that they engage Plum Tree Consulting?
I think they're looking for the right kind of investors, and they need someone who communicates well and has those multiple Rolodexes of independent, wealthy, accredited investors, that has access to the kind of people that will come on in an advisory standpoint, a board member, a CFO, an accounting firm, someone who's got the relationships that can give them the tools, okay, basically to get where they want to go. I'm basically a doctor of finance. The company comes in, tells me where it hurts, and we come up with a game plan to make them well.
Okay. Gary, you've indicated to me that you're delighted to have a complimentary video consultation with management of any private company or public company that wants to learn more about Plum Tree Consulting Services, as well as specifically what you can do for them. Is that correct? Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. The important thing today is to make sure that the people that I talk to, the companies that I work with, are companies that, one, want to work with me, and two, I want to work with. Being selective. So sitting down, working with them, understanding their game plan, taking the time, do a hands-on approach, understand where they want to go, how soon they want to get there, what are their needs, what are their businesses, and I'm willing to take the time and to listen to them and see exactly how and where I can help them. And many times I'll have something and we'll spend the time and I'll say, it's not right. I'll say, this is not the time. You got to come back to me when you get to another level. Many of the clients that I've gotten, I've talked to and told them it was too early to hire me. They needed to get to a certain level. I think that was important. So giving them good advice and being honest with them is important.
Okay, super. Again, I'd encourage any of our viewers, get in contact with Gary, take advantage of his offer for a free consultation. We'll provide Gary's contact information as well as a link at our Meet the CEO website for anyone that wants to contact and set up a call with Gary. Gary, any last comments for our viewers regarding your sort of view of the landscape as well? Any last comments you'd like to make?
There are a lot of uncertain times here. We have an election, we have a pandemic. We don't know how communication is going to be going forward. I find that my communication skills are right for this time. I have more contacts. I'm talking to more people who are available. I would love everybody to stay safe and to, be careful and feel free to contact me anytime. I'm taking calls from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. almost every night, including the weekend. So I want to thank you, Jeffrey, for taking the time to put me on Meet the CEO, and I look forward to talking to people going forward.
Okay, super. Again, Gary, thanks for being with us today. And to you, our viewers, until next time, thanks for joining us today at Meet the CEO videos. This is Jeffrey Friedland. Goodbye.